I'm going to unveil to you three types of concept. One which is turboprop based, one which is turbofan based, and a more revolutionary one which is a flying wing, so to say. So let's start with the turboprop that I think you will have behind me. This is an aircraft where, well, it might not look so different, but there are a few key fundamental differences. One very simple difference is the fact that there's no passenger here. The hydrogen must be stored somewhere. It's 4 times more volumic than kerosene. So naturally, we will aim at shorter ranges, shorter distances to be flown. In this case, something like 1,000 nautical miles for about 100 passengers. So that's the aircraft we would power with a turbofan, which is a turboprop, sorry, which is the equivalent to the turboprops we have today on our regional aircraft. And it is fueled by hydrogen and no longer by kerosene, which is then burnt into the turboprop. With hybridization with alternative sources of energy, like fuel cells, using the same fuel, the same hydrogen, which can bring power boost to the engines when necessary. So that's a completely different integration of energy on board that we are looking at on this aircraft, turboprop based. The second one is the turbofan. So on this one, you will see something that looks more like a classical turbofan aircraft, with again the question of storage of hydrogen. Where do we store it? So we store it in the fuselage against, and you see this aft part of the fuselage being windowless. That's where hydrogen is stored. It is then liquid carried onto the turbofans here to be burnt and to power the aircraft. So you see naturally a few features, a few revolutionary features for the aircraft that we will test in the concept aircraft together with hydrogen, and things like this chimney up there, which can be seen as a way to evacuate hydrogen gases in case there would be any kind of leak. So that's the turbofan concept aircraft. Range typically of 2,000 nautical miles or a little bit more, and the number of passengers, we would shoot for something between 120 and 200, just to give an order of magnitude. Combines a totally different aircraft architecture with a totally different time of fuel and energy on board. So this one is the blended wing body. You may remember the unveiling of our demonstrator Maverick at the Singapore Air Show earlier this year, which was for us an attempt to go again into this blended wing body area. Why do we go there? Because this architecture allows more space, more volume to store fuels, to store hydrogen in this case. So it gives much more freedom to much more design space to install passengers and hydrogen. So the cabin design and the hydrogen storage is obviously not fully defined. That may be seen as the step after next, but it's very interesting to study an option which is much more scalable than the other two ones. So you could imagine hydrogen being stored somewhere here, and the passengers being in this area. But definitely this needs to be further tuned, and that's why we launch a concept aircraft. So all in all, 3 types of concept planes. Thrilling experiment for us. I think it's cool to be an engineer starting in aerospace today, working on these concepts that will be the aircraft of the future. And we do believe 2035 entry into service is at reach if we make things right, and if the ecosystem around us evolves, as you will hear Glenn talking about in a few minutes.
So what we're talking about here is really powering aviation with renewable energy. And so that means we need an energy carrier which can be created using renewable energy and then carried on board an aircraft. We know that our experience with batteries shows us that battery technology is not moving at the pace we want, and this is where hydrogen comes in. It's got several thousand times more energy per kilogram than what batteries could have today. Hydrogen on top is an energy source which is required by many industries in order for us all to meet the Paris Agreement targets. This scale and the scaling that we're going to see over the next few years is going for aviation.
It's an obvious question. Is hydrogen safe in an aircraft?
Of course, hydrogen is safe in an aircraft. Hydrogen is one of the smallest molecules you can have. It is safe to breathe. It is safe as being all around us. There is obviously a question of safety behind hydrogen storage, but if I may, aerospace has developed kerosene as a fuel, which may have some burning characteristics, and we fly very safely with kerosene since, we've been flying for decades. So yes, hydrogen is safe. That doesn't mean there is nothing to be done, doesn't mean there is no challenge, but we are really on top of it.
From the passenger experience, what does this mean when we look at those concept planes?
For the passengers, it shouldn't mean a lot. It means being excited by flying with no climate impact. That's the, let's say, the heart of the passenger. But seen by the passenger themselves, at least in 2 out of the 3 concept planes, it wouldn't change much. On the third one, it's very exciting to see how we can modify the passenger, the cabin arrangement on the flying wing. But that's, let's say, a side topic to the development of hydrogen on board the aircraft.
How does Airbus view the prospects of battery-powered flight for smaller regional flights and planes?
I think batteries have their place in aviation, for sure. They are a very relevant technology for our industry. The question is, how big can we go with batteries? Where we're certain is that they can power definitely smaller applications, urban air mobility technologies. We don't believe that really it's a today relevant technology for large commercial aircraft, and we see hydrogen having much more potential.
You've revealed 3 concept planes. Which one would come first? And secondly, what kind of engines would you have on the blended wing body?
It's difficult to say which one would come first, because in fact there is no, I think you may have understood that there is no product, no exact product range behind these concepts. These are 3 different aircraft architectures. And naturally some aim at smaller or larger aircraft, but it's very early to predict which ones will be the winner of the game. So I think we need to buy 3 to 5 years in order for us to have matured our technologies, to have done the homework on those concepts, and to be in a position to say, okay, this is the one we're going to launch.
What are the issues and difficulties you've identified that you'll have to tackle in the realization of this project?
One of the really exciting things about this zero-emission aircraft is that it's got all of the technology and aircraft aspects which we've heard today, but it's much larger than that. As we've touched on, it's about a whole ecosystem, an energy ecosystem, an aviation ecosystem, which needs to change. So in terms of partnering, in terms of working across subjects which, as an industry, we maybe haven't had to deal with in the past, I think this is going to be a really exciting opportunity and challenge for us over the next years.
Correct. So just to follow up on what you said earlier, with the research you've done already, so electrification it's still there. You're looking at many things there as well.
Absolutely, and as I mentioned earlier on, one of the configurations we're looking into is having a modified gas turbine. So with the technology developments needed at gas turbine level, with, for instance, new injection principles, new combustion chambers, where we will have an embedded electric motor. Powered by fuel cells. So the electrification component is by all means still there, and that's where the key learnings we have gained through our experimentation of electric flight will be of capital importance.
Would this work on helicopters?
Well, I've been the head of engineering of Airbus helicopters in my previous job, so I think I could take it for helicopters. Yes, hydrogen is a solution. I think Grazia said it quite eloquently. It's a solution that transforms mobility.